Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Author, Yuval Noah Harari. Publisher, Harper. Publication, 2014. What does being a human mean? Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari uses lessons from science and the humanities to address the question of what it means to be human in a grand narrative spanning 2.5 million years of human evolution. Here are our top 10 takeaways for anybody conducting human-centered research or inventing for people from the 443 pages of insightful content that make up the best-selling Sapiens. But first, a word about nomenclature. You are a member of the human species, yet you are not the only one. You are a member of the group of human species known as Homo sapiens, sometimes known as wise humans, one of many that have coexisted on Earth. Your sapiens ancestors probably exterminated the Neanderthal species of people 40,000 years ago because they were too familiar to ignore, yet too different to endure, and also because they had more cerebral capacity than you. Sapiens is the only type of human that still exists. The situation for Europeans and those from the Middle East, however, is more problematic. Forget about being intersex, mixed race, or any other non-binary identity because you are interspecies. You are trans as well, but the reason why won't become clear until you read Insight number 10. Mythmakers. The core notion of sapiens is what distinguishes it from other animals. The fact that sapiens are mythmakers who construct and transmit new worlds, alternatives, and possibilities is what makes them different from other species. Shared myths are significant because they enable sapiens to collaborate, organize at scale, and rule the planet. Without mythology, sapiens would not be connected. Humans may create memories on an individual level, but at the level of their species, they create myths. Harari refers to the cognitive revolution as the genetic mutation that permitted the development of speech and imagination some 70,000 years ago. Rule number 1, Intersubjectivity. Human knowledge comes from our common subjectivity, not from objective reality or subjective impression, but from intersubjective myths. Laws, gods, money, morals, patriarchy, and countries are all examples of powerful intersubjective myths that exist not just in shared intersubjectivity but also outside of it in unshared imaginations. Knowing people is about comprehending the intersubjective myths they share, not about understanding their differences. Powerful intersubjective myths exist around brands. Peugeot is a prime example of an intersubjective, according to Harari. It is absent from the natural world. You could kill all Peugeot people, buildings, and products, and Peugeot would still exist. Instead, Peugeot exists as a common narrative or fiction in our intersubjective imagination that is potent because it can influence people to manufacture and consume things at a large scale. Explained through fictions, not facts. The shared mythology among sapiens describe them and what they do. Consider the most potent shared fiction, money. Money in the form of dollars is worthless without the common myth that it has value. When given a common meaning, money transforms into a medium of transaction, a source of. For Harari, money is also the apex of human tolerance, since it is more accepting than any other kind of socially constructed reality because it does not make distinctions based on sexual orientation, age, language, or any other aspect of culture. Modify the myth, transform the world. The glue that ties culture together is the intersubjective myths that both unite and divide sapiens. Break the myth, and the world will break, ushering in a sea shift in society. Break the myths of monarchy, slavery, and patriarchy to alter history's course. Biology allows, culture disallows. Anything we as sapiens can achieve is, by definition, natural, just as there is nothing more natural than chemicals, because they exist in the natural world. Culture closes doors by forbidding some behaviors and decrying them as against nature, but biology opens them. The study of human civilization is primarily the study of the law of the few, which we forbid. While the vast majority toils at their jobs, a select few create history. For instance, the agricultural revolution, which took place about 12,000 years ago and permitted greater food production and tremendous population expansion, drove the typical farmer into arduous, repetitive labor. A small group of spoiled elites reaped the benefits of the agricultural revolution, but they also had more time to change the course of history. For Harari, the agricultural revolution was the greatest hoax in human history. The art of being happy. Human happiness actually does not depend on the external conditions of income, health, or even community. Instead, it is based on the relationship between real circumstances and arbitrary expectations. This implies that what was formerly considered a luxury is now a need. Additionally, mass media and advertising may be lowering people's capacity for satisfaction by further elevating expectations. Inappropriately raised from its natural status as a transient neurochemical reaction intended to reward adaptive behavior, pleasure may, nevertheless, be a false god, or fiction. For sapiens, pleasure could not be the absence of suffering, but rather the source of suffering brought on by the stress, unease, and dissatisfaction caused by the meaningless, never-ending quest of a transient neurochemical reaction. Superhumans are what we are. The scientific revolution, which started 500 years ago, is now under progress and may be the third and last revolution in human history. The scientific revolution gave sapiens the ability to modify their environment and themselves via scientific discovery and technological invention, granting them superhuman abilities and virtually infinite energy. Mythical tales have been replaced by testable ideas, certainty has been replaced by ambiguity, conservatism has been replaced by curiosity, and perhaps most significantly, words have been replaced by numbers. But do we feel any better? Future trans is here. In the next century or two, the saga of sapiens will come to an end since the species has outgrown its hominid form. They have the ability and intellect to renew themselves, create new artificial life, and become gods via the use of science and technology. Homo Deus, or sapiens, are the new gods of intelligent design. As they transform into something new, their future is transhuman and not human. Unless they first destroy themselves. Despite their might, sapiens have the challenge of not knowing what they desire. Even their desires are unknown to them. Is there anything more hazardous than unruly gods who lack self-awareness and satisfaction? Although Jared Diamond's epic and significant book Guns, Germs, and Steel served as its inspiration, Sapiens is more approachable and may be of more immediate benefit to anyone conducting or developing human-related research. The most important lesson learned by brand genetics is that human-centric innovation and insight require a knowledge of people as myth and memory makers. Little that people do makes any sense at all without these two realizations. As qualitative researchers, we adore the concept of studying intersubjectives, or the common myths that individuals rely on to interpret the world and direct their behavior. Similar to this, Harari's realization that the key to understanding people is not to comprehend what they desire or do, but rather what they are not permitted to want or do, opens up intriguing study directions. A good place to start an examination is by seeing brands as popular myths. The notion that innovation can only make people happy if it exceeds their expectations is also not new, but it serves as a potent reminder of how important expectations are to insight and creativity. With a hypothetical interpretation that may and has been criticized, Sapiens' story is depicted in broad strokes. Scientists may find Sapiens to be overly interpretivist, while historians may find it to be overly scientized. However, Sapiens offers an excellent framework and lens for directing and interpreting what we do for those like us at Brand Genetics who work in human-centric insight and innovation.